This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of June 12th, 2023. We discuss how Disney could fix the Be Our Guest restaurant. We're kind of going into why it needs fixing, right? So for some reports on that. Thanks to our community member Wheezy on the idea of our top 3 ride vehicles. Now, to his credit, I think he gave this idea like a year ago, and we just never used it. It's actually on a list at the bottom of our show notes, but he brought it up again, so we're going to do that one today. Our takes on Disney IP usage, which seems to be a hot topic that never goes away, and our DBC engagement on the best Disney nighttime. Is it all shows or nighttime shows?
Any type
what
of
do we
show,
pick?
just any show at any park. What's the best one you've ever seen?
Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first, we're going to find out what's going on in our Disney World, Phil. And I think for the second week in a row, there's really not much.
Not much. I guess I'll start out with a quick shout out to Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and all the Disney fathers out there coming up on Father's Day. So I hope you have a great day if you are somebody who celebrates and celebrating the fathers in your life. Speaking of holidays, this week Disney announced they will be providing news for the holiday events they'll be having come November, December timeframe, because we are halfway to the holiday season already.
Oh boy.
And Disney did a lot of teasing of stuff. They've been tweeting out coordinates all day, which I still don't know exactly where they're pointing to. It was like every 30 minutes they tweeted out a new set of coordinates. Somebody was plotting them and thinks it's going to make like a Mickey head on Google Maps or something. I don't know. But then finally the news came out, and the news was just that here's the schedule for the news for the week. So if you're listening to this on Tuesday, June 13th is when they will release information about the holidays at Disneyland in California. Wednesday on June 14th, which is also my anniversary. So happy anniversary to my wife. In honor of that, they are announcing holiday information for Disney Cruise Line. And then on Thursday, June 15th, they will be announcing holiday news for Walt Disney World. Just going on some rumors that are coming out, so we'll see if these actually happen or not. But one is that there's something new is going to be coming to Hollywood Studios for the holidays. And potentially it's going to be a new hard ticket event. So similar to the holiday party they have at Magic Kingdom, but it would be over at Hollywood Studios. Somebody guessed maybe they'll do something in Galaxy's Edge for Life Day, or it'll just be a general holiday party. But it'll be interesting to see if they do and start having multiple holiday parties, whether I assume they'd be on different nights. Do they maybe reduce the number of nights they do them at Magic Kingdom? And I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. But rumors are always fun.
I don't think there's much that they can do there or like Life Day because it's so small in that area. Yeah. It's hard to sell a hard ticket event for that. And I think them doing like a Toy Story Land Christmas and a Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Christmas and Terror of Terror Christmas and Old Hollywood Christmas is too extravagant for a party. Like they won't go that far. So I think it's going to be. I wouldn't say if they do something, I would imagine it's like an old Hollywood kind of style Christmas with like all the old school decorations like they do already, maybe a parade and some entertainment, that type of thing. But I don't think it'll be themed with like Star Wars unless there's like a little nod to it rather than.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is if that's supposed to really be, Galaxy's Edge in actual Star Wars, you can't just have regular Christmas there. So, or regular holidays and Hanukkah and stuff like that. Like if it's going to be open during the party, you kind of have to do Life Day or something.
Yeah, I mean, just to be like decorations and stuff like that, not like a full-on production. Right. That's what I'm saying. We'll see. Yeah.
And the other rumor, and we tied this to a Twitter poll we put out, so thank you to everybody who responded to that. But the other rumor is that they might be bringing back the Dreamlights for Cinderella's Castle. So our Twitter poll was, do you think that when they have this news this week, they will either no, they're not going to mention anything about the Dreamlights and we won't learn anything new. B, yes, they will tell us about them and they are coming back. Or yes, they will tell us about it, but they will confirm they're not coming back. What do you think was the most popular answer?
I'm gonna say everybody's a cynic and said nothing is happening. I'm opening the link right now.
That is correct. So
Yes.
about close to 47% of people said that we will learn nothing. The next popular answer with about 33% was that yes, we will hear, and they are coming back. I know I voted for that. I was trying to be optimistic and kind of will it into the universe because I know a lot of people want to see that come back, and it would be nice to see, kind of in the spirit of them, they're bringing back the dining plan, getting rid of reservations and stuff. This would be sort of listening to the fans and bringing back something. And about 20% or so of people said that they will confirm that they are not coming back. So
I can see them taking holiday parties away from Magic Kingdom and slotting them in Hollywood Studios, and so having a new party be something that's new and attractive.
Yep.
And from a logistics point of view, I think that's excellent because party nights or the non-party nights at Magic Kingdom, because there's so few of them, are absolutely horrible times to go to that park because they're
that would definitely
crowded.
be a nice bonus if they reduce that to only 2 or maybe 3 nights a week. And so there's more options for being able to see the regular fireworks, because that's definitely as much as people love these parties, whether it's the Halloween or holiday one, it's a bummer that for regular park guests get kicked out by 7 or 6 or whatever it is, and there's no fireworks for them to see that night. So like you said, it makes everyone have to go on the few nights of the week that they have it. So
100%.
Spreading it out would definitely be helpful. The next news item I wanted to talk about, and I don't know how much there's to discuss about it, but I thought it was kind of a neat thing that's coming, is they announced that obviously in front of all the Pixar and Disney animated films, they always have a short in front of them. And they announced the one that's going to be coming in front of Wish, which is the new Disney animation one coming later this year. The short in front of it's going to be called Once Upon a Studio. And it's going to be celebrating the 100 years of Disney and 100 years of Disney animation. And I guess the plot of it is that Mickey is trying to get everybody, like from all the animated films, together for a group shot. And the thing that I really liked about it is it's going to be a mix of live action, traditional hand-drawn 2D animation, and then also modern 3D animation all put together. And they said over 40 of the original voice actors are returning.
That's awesome.
And I think they said they're using some of like Robin Williams' unused audio. And so they show this clip of like Olaf getting to meet the genie and stuff like that. So
was that a clip? I only thought it was like a thumbnail or something.
I think it was a thumbnail, but I guess that's going to be in it or whatever. It's like that's going to be part of it and stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
So I really like this idea. I think this is one of the better things I've heard about the 100th celebration. Like this really feels like, yeah, let's look back at our 100 years and do something cool about it. So I'm looking forward to it.
You mean they're doing what should have been done for the 50th originally?
I know.
I mean, it's amazing.
It's like they know how to do it.
Where are they getting these ideas from?
And the last news item I have is that Disney announced, and it's actually open now. It opened on June 9th, but they are bringing what they're calling Indiana Jones Den of Destiny to Disney's Hollywood Studios. It's basically a pop-up little area that I think used to be merchandise, but for a while it's been closed for a while and actually was just used as storage. But they're reopening it, and they're having sort of movie props from different Indiana Jones films. There's, I know, a photo opportunity in there, and then there's a bar that's going to be selling a few, themed drinks, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And then I think outside there's some stand-up tables and stuff like that. So, it says they're calling it the Indiana Jones Den of Destiny, which will feature rare antiques and refreshing libations. And it's, like I said, it opened on June 9th, and it's scheduled to be open until August 15th. So I guess my question was like, is this a good use of that space? Do you find this as like a good way to sort of promote the movie? Or I guess overall, what are your thoughts about them doing something like this?
I mean, it's good. I mean, if the space is kind of going unused, it's always nice to open more stuff back up. I mean, it'll suck in 5 or 10 people every 5-10 minutes. I don't know. Right. So it's always good stuff for people to do. I like how they promote new movies in the parks. It gives you something new to see. It makes sense from a business point of view, promoting the movies that you're spending millions of dollars on in the parks, outside of just like the where they have what's in the backside of the Chinese theater with all the different movie posters and stuff like that. So I think it's good. I don't think I've seen anybody complain about this, so that's a bonus too, I guess.
Well, I have.
Oh, well, maybe you're looking too hard.
I mean, the thing is, people were complaining because it's not as good as like the Tribute Store over at Universal, but I think it's a little apples and oranges. This isn't something they've been hyping for months, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure, I would love if it was that cool and had all these details and stuff like that, but this was just something extra. From what I understood, at least Julie had mentioned, she works at Hollywood Studios, and even the cast members there didn't know this was happening. Like, this is sort of just like a bonus extra thing they're doing. And I think it's like you said, I'm glad they're promoting new movies. It seems like that hasn't happened in the parks as much recently. Like back in the day, they used to, like, whatever new animated movie was coming out that year, there was a whole parade for it and stuff like that. But they haven't really been doing that stuff. But there's this, we already have the live action Ariel meet and greet going. I saw a news report. We usually don't cover Disneyland Paris, but they're adding like an Elemental pre-show to their nighttime show. So it seems like Disney's getting more into using the parks to help promote new movies and new IP, and I think that's a good thing.
No, I totally think it's a good thing. I mean, from the 90s with Eisner and everything else, he'd be like panicking that there wasn't something in the parks when a movie was coming out. So he would like, there was old school, I don't know, whatever you call old school, prior to like the last 10 years, I should say, they were very focused on bringing life to the parks. Now it's kind of flipped where like there's the whole studio section of things and then the park section of things, and they're almost completely separate from, like, there's no corporate synergy between the two, or at least it's not very nimble when it comes to it. So I like it. Hopefully they're turning over a new leaf and they're trying some new things. We'll see. Yeah.
And then the last little news blurb that you put in there was that there's no real news because we're done with the news, and that wasn't exactly very much. And that's kind of one thing that people have been talking about, that there's just not a lot going on. If you're interested in Ariel's, Bio reconstructed a whole bunch of new stuff, so you can see the updates on like Moana, Journey of Water, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but there's not a lot of news. So, I mean, I guess we'll get the holiday stuff this week, and we do have D23 coming up before we know it in early September, but I don't know. Not a lot going on right now.
There's a couple things. So, like, very rarely have I seen some of like the major message boards out there, like WD Magic and Twitter and Reddit and all this other stuff. The threads are like dropping off, like, the top of the list, which is surprising to me. And the only thing that people are holding on to is like, there's, we already went through the promo season. We've got, everybody's just not excited about any movies that are coming out or Disney Plus things. So there's no like buzz about that, other than we'll probably get some Ahsoka buzz, coming this fall, because that's an October release, if I remember correctly. Yep. But yeah, everybody's kind of like, sitting around, and it's all kind of, I wouldn't say bad news, but like everybody's kind of stuck in a rut, which is costs and this, that, and the other. Things that we talk about every single week that I don't like talking about, but we're kind of forced to talk about because that's what everybody else is talking about. Like every single week, there's a conversation about expense and how Disney doesn't know what they're doing, or they lost sight of their original mission and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm optimistic that we'll see, once D23 rolls around, there's going to be like, they're going to actually do some blue sky stuff, but it's not blue sky anymore. It's like, here are the plans.
Officially announced, yeah.
And everybody's going to get super excited. And that's just going to start turning the speculation spigots on, and news items and speculation and rumors. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think we just have to, much like the parks right now that are quite empty, supposedly, so is the news. So I just thought it was interesting. The news is that there is new news. And it's very rarely do we get that. At least usually something pops up to talk about. But 2 weeks in a row, not the case. But that's all I wanted to say.
Yep. Well, if you think of something that you want to talk to us about, hit us up on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We are all at the DVC Pod, or join the Discord server where we're still finding some stuff to talk about. So that's always good, even though
there's plenty.
There's always stuff going on. And I did want to welcome new member Elizabeth D. So thanks for jumping on Discord, and
welcome.
Been enjoying all the engagement from some of the new members, which has been great.
Excellent. Yes, for sure. Totally. Okay, so it's funny. Phil, you did the show notes. You picked out today's topic, but as I was coming to the show notes to collaborate, you had already put this on it. We were going to pick out the same article regarding how Be Our Guest is not like it used to be. Yep. And that's just not just menu-wise, but popularity and planning and all this other stuff. So what was the premise for this one, Phil?
Yeah, so this is from Disney Food Blog, And the title of the article is How Be Our Guest Restaurant. They were specifically focusing on the lunch, but they called it Slowly Declined from Perfect to Pathetic. And I think for those of you that maybe don't know sort of the history of this restaurant, obviously it's set in Beast Castle and there's the multiple rooms and stuff like that. But when it first opened, it was a pretty cool concept in that it was open for all three meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But breakfast and lunch were quick service, and then dinner was like the full kind of fancy table service. And it really gave a chance for a lot of people to get to experience it because it is very immersive and kind of like just very
Beautiful
unique to
inside.
Disney, and it's beautiful inside. And you could go for breakfast, and it wasn't crazy expensive. And then I think for a while lunch was so popular you could even like pre-order your food and stuff like that. But they give you like this candelabra or rose. I think it was a rose that you put on your table, and they would bring out the food to you. But you kind of waited in line to order it like a quick service, and it was kind of a neat option. And it was better than a lot of the other quick service lunch options in Magic Kingdom. And again, it was not crazy expensive, and you got to experience something unique.
It was crazily sought after. You had to use your you had to get an ADR for all the different meals, and it was the most popular ADR like on the planet. Like it was harder to get than 6 p.m. Cinderella's Royal Table reservation for quite some time. Yeah. Lunch was actually really good. I've eaten lunch there quite a bit in the past. It was like kind of like a Panera type lunch, right? Yeah. It was a good lunch. I mean, it wasn't like absolutely amazing, but it was good food. You got to stay inside. The atmosphere was awesome. The only complaint that it was kind of like a loud cafeteria because it kind of was echoey in there. But you got to eat at the castle. The cast members were great. It was a really great experience. And then for dinner, like you mentioned, again, we ate there on the dining plan just once for dinner. And this is before they changed to a prefix menu. And I'm sure you're going to go over that in a moment. Yep. And it had a good menu you selected. It wasn't crazy expensive. Like the dinners, this is back 2019, I think, last time we did it because we saw the Beast then. I don't know. We spent maybe on it. We did the dining plan, but you would have spent maybe if you had entree and dessert, I don't know, like $40, I think, with a drink and stuff like that. So it wasn't amazingly expensive. It was a nice sit-down type of meal.
Right. And so the fact that it was so popular, and so as I kind of titled this section, that Disney tried to fix what wasn't broken. And to be fair, one of the issues was people would book this, make an ADR just to go in, and they would get like a cupcake or something like that. And people, especially the breakfast, were abusing it because they used to have pre-park opening breakfast. So you could get an ADR for before the park opened, go in, buy like a muffin. So you're taking up an ADR spot that somebody else could get, not really spending any money. And then you would go like quick get online for Mine Train or something like that. So I get why Disney felt like they had to do something. Ultimately, what they've done is now it's not open for breakfast. It is only open for lunch or dinner, and it is the same menu. It is a prefix menu. And if you're on the Disney dining plan, it is 2 table service credits now. So the price went way up. And honestly, the food quality also went down. When it first opened, even some of like, some of the vloggers and stuff that could be a little tough or just like to find things to complain about, they found the food to be quite good there when it first opened.
That's what I heard.
And they are not saying the same thing about dinner anymore. I think maybe it's just because people have much more fond memories of the past, but it certainly has gone down a little bit. And it's kind of one of those typical Disney things that people see now where you're paying more for less.
For less. I mean, I'm going to make a correction. 2018 is when it went to a prefix dinner menu.
Yeah.
And it was only post-COVID where I think the lunches went away from quick service to a prefix menu all day long, which is a darn shame because I was able to find reservations for this for any time of the day. Yeah. Breakfast was great there, even though I never did it. I've heard very many good things about it. It's just another option.
At least once. I forget if we did it twice. I know we did it at least once to try it.
But you get it. I love the ways we could get into the park a little bit early, have a nice relaxing start to your day, and kind of meander from a different starting point. Right? I think that's always fun to do. But yeah, regardless of the food options that you have, like the quality of food, I should say, and maybe even the options. I think this is the specter of the prefix menu that's kind of being I guess, mandated across a lot of restaurants. Because as much as I like the dining plan, I do not want to do the dining plan and everywhere I go is a prefix menu.
Yep.
It's going to come a time where I do the dining plan again, and it's not going to be all buffets, because who doesn't like a buffet? But I don't want to go to like when we did the candlelight processional last December, we did the Rose and Crown as a prefix menu, and the options weren't fantastic. And so no, to me it's kind of sad. And like you said, I think Disney was trying to catch the people that were going and taking up a spot just to kind of hang out in there.
Yep.
But you know what? I get it. It's a business, but you could also keep it the same, but like enforce like a $15 per person minimum or something like that.
Yeah, that was sort of the ideas I was throwing around, was rather than go to this prefix thing, because like you said, they're doing it other places too. You know, another place that we used to love to go was California Grill, and we would always spend a good chunk of change there, but it was like we would get flatbreads and sushi and kind of share things. And now it's this prefix thing where, you know, my kids who are 10 and up have to pay $95 or whatever. And I just looked it up for Be Our Guest now. They would have to pay $67 for adults, $39 for kids. And it's just a lot of money. But so there's got to be some middle ground between stopping the people from just getting a cupcake towards forcing people to get a prefix that they probably or might not really want. And I don't know if it's charged sort of like a service fee or like an entertainment fee or something like that on, you know, just to kind of get in, or like you said, it's a $100 table minimum, or, you know, whatever it is, some way to make it
per person type of thing.
Per person type thing where everyone, if you only want to get a cupcake, fine, but you still have to spend $25 or whatever it is, to kind of justify taking that spot at the table. And you know, a lot of, you know, bars and restaurants, we're going to a place on Friday that, you know, we have to buy a ticket because there's a performance and stuff, but then there's, I think, a 2-drink minimum or a $25 per person minimum, because they want, you know, you're in there, you're going to be in there for a while. They want to make sure they're getting enough money for that table. You're not just sitting there chilling out. So there's got to be something Disney can do beyond this prefix thing. I hope they
I hope so too. I mean, the only issue not the only issue, but one of the biggest issues with Be Our Guest is sometimes you can justify that price point if you're meeting all the princesses or you're doing like a character meal. Be Our Guest is just a pretty environment. And the Beast, basically, I don't think that you can meet him anymore, but he does walk back and forth, so you can kind of see the Beast storming from wing to wing. I don't think you can meet him anymore.
Yeah,
Phil.
I'm actually Googling it right now. If you meet the Beast.
But like, you used to be able to wait online and meet him, get your picture taken, memory maker, that whole type of thing. I don't know if you do that now anymore, but he does.
From what I'm seeing online, it's still that he comes around about once an hour and kind of greets everybody like while they're at their table. You know,
I mean, he just waves,
like waves.
Yeah, he doesn't come to your table.
No.
So that is, to me, that's not worth $70 a head as an adult to kind of eat their food and like hang out there. Yeah. I mean, you do get, you know, I think you can get cocktails in that restaurant, not just beer and wine. So, I mean, if you want a nice dinner kind of thing, the only way I could justify spending money in there is if I had no kids when I was there. It was kind of like me and my wife, we have good memories of this. We want to go back in and kind of do the whole thing. But even then, for $140, $150 with tax, before any additional drinks or anything else like that, I don't know if I want to do that there if I'm spending that kind of money on dinner. I mean, I'll go to
they're
Disney
basically
Springs
pricing
and spend better money
it
there.
Like a nice date night place, and while it's a neat space, it's not really a date night place. It's a take your family place, and it's not priced like that. Which is
again, everything comes back down to pricing, and we're complaining about that. So we'll see if that changes.
We're trying to find solutions. We're trying to come up with Disney ideas for how. And I will say, I do think if they brought back meeting the Beast, I remember, you know, that's definitely one of those core memories I know my son has when he was about 3 or 4 or something like that, going to meet this Beast that he had to just like look straight up to be able to see.
I've got pictures somewhere.
He was kind of very nervously like walking over and stuff like that. So I think, like you said, that would even add some value, or maybe even you have Belle or some of the other princesses there or something. I don't know, but for what at least, this price, I mean, like you said, it's easy to get an ADR. It used to be the hardest one to get, and it's easy to get now. So they got to do something.
I think, why don't you clear out I mean, you're taking tables away, but why don't you clear out a space and have Belle and the Beast come in and dance in the middle and put on like a little show every like 20 minutes or something. But I think they need to do something in there to justify that price tag, and there's certainly not there. Okay, to get away from that depressing topic, Phil. I want to get to our takes, and I think we're going to reference a conversation we had a couple weeks ago about IP in the parks, and you came up with a slightly different take on this.
Yeah.
It's, overrated, properly rated, underrated IPs, the parks, but not underrated IP, but the overdone or not well done.
I'd say the usage of the IP in the park. So which ones do we think are like done well, and maybe are underrated that people don't think about, versus which ones are maybe overrated and kind of like just all over the place and thrown in your face and kind of, just everywhere, and maybe not
slapdash,
and maybe not as executed as well as it could.
Yep. All right. So I'll start with my overrated one. There's a couple contenders here. Obviously, yours is the most obvious one, so I did not use that one. But I kind of stuck with Fairy Tale Hall.
Okay.
Now, who can you meet there now? It's Tiana and Rapunzel, I think. Is that still?
I think that's on one side, and then is it Elena? And I'm not sure.
I don't remember. Yeah. It doesn't make a difference. It's primo space in the middle of Fantasyland. And it's a very elaborate, not even elaborate. It's it's a meet and greet. It's kind of boring. It should be an attraction. It should be something to do with the castle. And to me, I think they got lazy because originally I think it was just Anna and Elsa. You were in there before they were.
They were on one side, I think, and then two other princes were on the other side. But this got added sort of late in the plans when they were doing New Fantasyland, because originally New Fantasyland was going to have multiple meet and greets in it, similar to the Enchanted Tales with Belle.
Yep. But
then there was pushback saying, that's a lot of space and a lot of money to just spend on meet and greets, which have low turnover and stuff like that. And I guess at the time was where there's not much for boys in it and stuff like that. So that's when they decided to scrap Pixie Hollow and some of the meet and greet areas and put in Mine Train instead. And when they did that, they said, well, we don't need two Snow White attractions right next to it. So they closed down Snow White's Scary Journey or Scary Adventure and then put in these more simple meet and greets, which do tend to be popular. But to your point, it's done up well, but it's kind of plain, there's nothing really to it.
I don't think it's done up well either, though. I mean, it's a switchback queue. You go in, you go down a central hallway, you can see the glass slipper, and then you go off into rooms. And the rooms are just little hallways to getting to the meet and greet areas, and then you get thrown out into the gift shop. And I think that space needs to be an attraction. If I was redoing Fantasyland and new Fantasyland, that becomes something. It has to be something more kinetic and engaging, I think. And that's the issue. What is your overrated one? What is the obvious one, Phil? You stole it.
So my overrated one was Frozen in general. I feel like this isn't to bash Frozen, which I think is actually a really good IP and deserves to be in the park, but it's kind of all over the place. It's in pretty much all the parks, I think, except Animal Kingdom. And it's in all the nighttime shows. You have, Elsa lighting up the castle for the holidays. You have them in the morning show or the midday shows. You have, Frozen Ever After. You have the Frozen sing-along and all sorts of stuff. And, I think the sing-along's fun and Frozen Ever After is okay, but none of them are super high end. And especially now when you compare it to they're building Frozen Land in Hong Kong Disneyland in Paris, so and you can kind of see they're going doing it properly. It just feels like this is a popular IP. We're going to put it in as many places as we can for as cheaply as we can, just to kind of satisfy the desire. So that is my overrated IP as far as IP in the park.
Oh, you went even broader. I thought you were just going Frozen Ever After, and just because it was slapped onto Maelstrom. But you went all over the parks. I have to say though, the Frozen sing along show is probably one of my favorite entertainment values. I really like that.
I was almost hesitant to include that because I think it is really fun, but it's literally just they're showing clips of the film and have a couple it's not a high-end production.
A movie franchise that's made billions upon billions of dollars of merch and ticket sales deserves more than, random stuff thrown all over the place. Okay, so my properly rated one, and I think this is kind of more of there's a lot of different choices for this one, but I picked Pandora. And I was kind of focusing on actual you went more broad with the IP. I went more specific, which is fine. I just think, Pandora is really well done. You walk into that land. I mean, obviously Animal Kingdom is the best themed park out of all four. And the transition from goodness, it's kind of like Africa to like a walkway to like slowly transitioned, at least when you first go like left, right, in the park into Pandora. Just the sounds, the music, it starts going from light to kind of tropical and a little bit kind of like scary, a little bit type of thing, or exotic if you want to call it that. I think it's just extremely well done, and it fits the premise of the park. It fits the smooth transition from like the natural Earth-based biomes to Pandora. I think it's just the transition was beautifully done, and I think it's. I think everybody applauds it for that, and you're gonna get no complaint from me.
Yep. No, I think that one makes a lot of sense, and I think it's like you said, it's probably the appropriate amount for at the parks, and it's what's there is done really well, and it's now it's got 2 of the top 3 grossing movies ever or whatever.
Yep.
It certainly deserves to have a presence in the park, and everything's well done, and I think everyone acknowledges that.
Exactly.
My properly rated, I thought about this for a while, and I actually came up with Donald Duck, because I think he needs to be there. He's obviously one of the Fab Five, and you can find him in a number of character meals and things like that. But I also feel like you can find him in a lot of fun spots that sort of fit him and the character. Like he's in Grand Fiesta Tour, and he's kind of acting out how you would expect Donald to do that. And you can meet him in his sombrero and stuff like that there. And then like he's in Mickey's PhilharMagic, which is actually really more about Donald. And he's, again, acting just like you would expect him to. Mm-hmm. So I think he's an IP that is well represented and properly represented within the parks.
Okay, I you know what? I like the way you interpreted your own question better than I did.
Well, I'm glad to know at least I knew what I thought about. I was thinking about.
So I was thinking more specific. You're like, here's an IP. Is it being used properly in the parks? So no, I like that. I do want to mention. I want to see if you agree with me or not. I think that it's an overrated use, or I don't know if it's overdone, but I don't like the way they use it. It's A Bug's Life, or I forget what the actual attraction's name is. The show in the Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is it Tough to Be a Bug?
Tough to Be a Bug is the name of the attraction. Yep.
That queue is gorgeous as you walk through the tree and everything else. And the show is really good. I like the show. I just think that it was a lost opportunity to do something really cool in Tree of Life. I would not have put that there. So I almost put that as my overrated one. All right, so we're going to go back into the last part. Underrated. So what is underrated use of an IP in the park? And again, I did a little something differently with the way I interpreted this, Phil, but I put Guardians of the Galaxy. Everybody think, oh, it's a great coaster. It kind of got shoved into Epcot, and that's it, right? And they're like, they ignore everything. I really like the backstory where it's like a country pavilion at Epcot, and that's what it is. And then things go nutty, right? And no spoilers, I guess. But I like the way they use the backstory, the premise of it, and using the IP of Guardians for that. And I kind of like that. We all like to make fun. I think we talked about, was it last week we talked about Tiano's Bayou Adventure, and are they going a little too nutty with some of the backstory type of stuff? And usually that kind of goes over my head. I don't pay attention, or I don't really care. This one kind of stuck out to me, and I don't think enough people really appreciate that little nugget, I guess.
I think that's a really good example, because I think so many people just say, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy doesn't belong in Epcot, like full stop, and they don't really think about it. And I think you could certainly argue that it's, does it fit in Discovery Land and stuff like that, or World Discovery, I guess it is now. But I think if you said, here's the premise, we need to use Guardians of the Galaxy. That's one of the few Marvel ones we can do. We want to add a thrill ride. We want to take over the space, like kind of you're given all those conditions. Then I think the Imagineers did about as good a job as you could, given those conditions, making it work. Yes. And like you said, like, I like the idea that this is a pavilion. It's like, instead of going to the China Pavilion, you're going to the Xandar Pavilion to learn about Xandar, and they want to reach out to us and that sort of thing. So I think it was kind of a clever way to do it, even if a lot of people either don't recognize it or willfully not recognizing it.
No, I think that one's one. What is your underrated?
So my underrated one, I picked Winnie the Pooh, because I think sometimes people forget how many places it is in the park. Obviously, the characters meet at Crystal Palace, and there's the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the ride, which I think, is a good ride for kids, even if it's not the best Winnie the Pooh attraction in the world.
Yes.
But you also have, he used to have a meet and greet in the UK in Epcot, but he's still doing the COVID era type meet and greet where he's out in the fields trying to catch butterflies.
Which is wonderful, by the way.
Yeah. And then like at the party, at the Halloween parties, all the characters come out wearing costumes and things like that. I just think it's one of those IPs that they're using to sort of some of the best of their abilities. Like it's, Winnie the Pooh's not going to be like the biggest IP. They're not going to create like a Galaxy's Edge version of Winnie the Pooh or something like that.
They could.
For what it is, I feel like they use it in a lot of good spaces, and people don't always remember all the places it's used. And it's a great IP for families with little kids. I think, Crystal Palace isn't one of my favorite meals, but it's really good when you have little kids and you can kind of sit down, take a break. They enjoy meeting the kind of the furry characters they can hug and stuff like that. So I think that's one that was the first one that came to mind that maybe is a little bit underappreciated or underrated for having its presence in the parks.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There are definitely Winnie the Pooh fans out there, and I think they know where everything is in the parks because it's their favorite characters. But like, I think a lot of people totally forget that Winnie the Pooh is, even though it has a ride in Fantasyland, that it's like a Disney IP. Like, right. I think if of all the Disney like cartoons, that was almost kind of like disconnected from like classic.
Well, it was it was a IP they acquired right back before Disney acquired IP. It was when they did. It was one of the earlier ones they did.
So I mean, I think that's actually a really good point there. I like that one. Okay, we're going to move to our top 3 segment for the week, and this week it is ride vehicles. Thanks to Wheezy, who also put in a bunch of other ideas, so probably might steal one of those as we go along. But first, I think we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, Phil, either or. And this one, for me, I think this is really simple. I don't know how anybody can disagree with me, but you did because you didn't include any of mine in your top 3. But number 1 for me is Remy's. I really like the trackless ride vehicles. The actual vehicle itself is nothing to write home about. It's, big giant rat. But the vehicle and the way it operates, the technology behind it, and how it fits in with the rest of the attraction, I think is really, really cool. The second one, and for a similar reasoning, is Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway. I really love how the train comes to a station and all of a sudden the train kind of breaks up and then it comes back together. How they use some people dislike this ride because it has too many screens and that's all it is. I think they do extremely a well done job here with the way they kind of, with the different effects. I really love the ride vehicle and the ride itself. And of course, I don't know how anybody could not list the Millennium Falcon as one of the best ride vehicles. I don't know if you want to count that as a ride vehicle.
I thought about including that one on my list, and then I'm like, wait, is it a ride vehicle when it's like the entire ride is like the cockpit? So I didn't know if that qualified as a vehicle. If we consider it a ride vehicle, that it definitely belongs on the list.
Yeah, I'm including it just because it's one of my favorite rides. I mean, I'm a big Star Wars head, and I've said this a million times on the show already. I love being in the cockpit, pulling the lever, going to hyperspace, and like I just love the whole experience. So that one always kind of brings a smile to my face, no matter how many times I go on it. All right, Phil, what are your top 3 ride vehicles?
Yeah, so first let me say something is that I wasn't sure what to do with the trackless ride vehicles because they're cool in how they work and the technology behind them, but the actual ride vehicles themselves are kind of just benches and a box or whatever. So
sure.
I was very tempted to put the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway though, because I like how it like forms the train and then the engine goes away and stuff. So I think that almost made my list, but I wasn't quite sure what to do with the trackless ride vehicles. So my list is the first one I put was the Flight of Passage bike seat Banshee things, whatever you want to call them. I think they're incredibly innovative. It's for the time it was a new style of ride vehicle, and then it has even the effects that it makes it feel like the Banshee's breathing under you and stuff like that. I just think it's a really cool way to do an attraction. Number 2, I went super classic with the Haunted Mansion Doom buggies. I think it just fits the aesthetic so much. Obviously, how the engineering that went into them so that it was the Omni Mover, and they could change the way you were positioned, facing, so that you could see the show scenes they wanted you to. I like the audio in it, and just how it just feels like everything's all around you, and you're kind of like in that atmosphere. So, that's
So
what I picked.
why would you list Haunted Mansion but not Little Mermaid? It's the same exact vehicle. It's just a clamshell.
I think this the way they use the sound is better, and I
Okay.
guess it's just the classic one, and it kind of I don't know. I guess
Hey,
you're right. It's
I'm
the
all
same
about
like
being
Red Dead.
biased about the Haunted Mansion. It's one of my favorite.
I think
attractions.
I guess just theming wise, it's a lot better
Sure,
than the other ones. I
absolutely.
mean, you could have said the Nemo and Friends one is pretty much the same thing too. or
I'm not.
whatever.
I'm not considering that an attraction at all.
That's fair enough.
It's an escalator.
And then the last one I was deciding between two, and they're kind of similar, so I lumped them together. Was the vehicles on both Spaceship Earth or People Mover, because they kind of feel like similar shapes and that sort of thing. I love the technology behind People Mover with the magnetic propulsion system that moves you around and stuff. And then Spaceship Earth, I just like the shape of it and how it moves you around, and then it pivots the whole thing, when you're going around the Earth, and then how it turns backwards so you can go back down, and just how it winds through the golf ball and stuff like that. So I couldn't decide between those two, but those were the last ones I put.
And that reminds me. I mean, I don't know if I guess I might replace Remy's. Now that I think about it, with maybe Guardians of the Galaxy, just because of how it moves throughout the attraction.
That was another one I considered. That would have been like an honorable mention as well.
So okay, I'm glad we agree on something then for our top three. This is excellent.
There we go.
If you've got your own top three ride vehicles, and you're already in Discord,
definitely would
talking
love
about-
to hear people's take on this, because we didn't pick any of like the boat rides or anything like that. So I'd love to hear what other people think.
For sure. Okay, we're going to move on to the DVC engagement for the week. And then we asked the community, what is the best show or parade you have seen at a Disney park, past or present? So you're not limited to what's there now.
Yep.
And it could be something you barely remember when you were 3 years old. It counts. What do you want to do, Phil, this week? Do you want to do community first and then us, or us then the community?
I think we've done the community first a few times, so why don't we do ours first?
Okay.
This time.
Would you like to start?
Sure. So mine is, I know I've been on the record saying I'm not typically a parade person, but the best thing I've ever seen at any Disney park is the Paint the Night parade. I've seen it at both Disneyland in California and at Hong Kong Disneyland. And even in Hong Kong, when half the audio was in English and half of it was in Chinese, it still was awesome. So I think it just has so much energy. The song they use is great. Lots of good characters, and just the technology in the lights and everything is really cool. I just don't see how you could watch that parade and not enjoy it, not have a smile on your face. I just think and maybe it's because I typically don't like parades and I like this one. It kind of boosts higher in my opinion of some, because it kind of won me over as being a parade. So that was the choice I went with.
That's good. I picked the Not So Scary Halloween parade, the Mickey's Boo to You. I think it's the best parade I've ever seen. And granted, I haven't seen Paint the Night and some of the other ones that people really love. But I just think the duration is very, very long. So it's not like you sit there, it's over in a couple minutes. The costumes are absolutely fantastic. You've got the Headless Horseman that comes through at the end. It's night and the lights are on. We very rarely get a nighttime parade, so I think that's a really cool aspect of it at Disney World. And I would almost say this parade is maybe not in today's dollars, but almost worth the price of admission for going there, because it's really awesome entertainment.
I definitely remember people saying that back when it was maybe $39 a night or something like that. Not the $109 or $150 or whatever it is now. But
I mean, I can't remember how much it cost, but 2015, I think it was like $70 to $80.
That sounds
I want
about
to say
right,
something
yeah.
like that. And we had only family of 4, but all my kids were under the age of 3 at the time, so it was just like, oh, what's an extra $160?
Oh yeah, for your whole family to go, for sure.
So that was actually pretty good. So that was mine. Do you want to go over what the community said, Phil?
Sure. Yeah. So I kind of group things together. There was a lot of love for nighttime parades. So I don't know if this is just absence makes the heart grow fonder type thing. But TL Madden said, I think the night parades at Magic Kingdom were probably the best. He said he doesn't even remember if it was Spectrum Magic or Electric Light Parade that he saw first, but just having the floats with the lights and you're winding down your day, even more so than a fireworks show. He found that that was what he remembers the most. D. Lavender said Spectrum Magic will always hold a special place in his heart. Gene L said they love the nighttime parades as well. It mentions about when Cinderella's coach would come by with the little Shetland ponies. Mama of Six went for the other holiday parade, said the nighttime Christmas parade was their favorite. They loved every moment of it, from the prancing reindeers to the tin soldiers, gingerbread men, the snow on Main Street, everything. It ends it that it's magic. And Doxy said it was hard to pick for one, but also said they love the nighttime parade. Same thing, couldn't remember if it was the Electrical Parade or Spectrum Magic that they last saw. But did also shout out the Christmas parade and Halloween parade. But again, lots of love for the nighttime parade. So Disney, if you're listening, and we know you are, please bring back the nighttime parade.
I'm surprised how much engagement this one pulled out.
Yeah.
This was this just started spamming in Discord. What everyone did. So we really appreciate the participation on this one.
Some other, and kind of another nighttime parade, but not there. What Stitch in Minnesota mentioned that loves the electric water pageant as well. For those of you who hadn't seen it, that's a really cool one that's been there since like opening day, I think in 1971.
It's the original stuff. Too.
Yeah, and it looks like it, which is what makes it, which is part of its charm, and how you don't even need to be in the park. I've watched it just like they have on the beach at the Polynesian, watch it go by and stuff like that. Definitely is something that adds to your Walt Disney World vacation. Lumpy mentioned Illuminations, which definitely is high on my list. It's just the first time they saw it. They can't even remember, how much they liked it, but that it was always their favorite one, even though they do recognize it had kind of run its course, but loved how it was, and that you basically could watch it from anywhere around the lagoon and have a good view. A couple other things that got mentioned. D. Lavender mentioned the pre-park opening shows. They do have the one at the castle still now at Magic Kingdom. So I'm pretty sure they're probably talking about the one that was at the train station, and how that was kind of a fun thing for people that got there early. You see the train arrive with the characters, and it kind of really like pumped you up like for the start of your day. Kind of.
I still like the one in front of the castle in the morning when the day begins. The only issue is I need to be like rope dropping somewhere because I'm never at the park.
If you're if you're on site and you get that early entry, you're going to be off somewhere. You're not going to be wasting that early entry time.
Exactly. That's the only thing I don't like. So I wish they would do that earlier if that's possible. I don't know if they could do that, but it's really cool hearing the fireworks and the announcement as you're being crammed into Mine Train's line or something else like that.
Yep. And then the last thing that got mentioned by a number of people was the Osborne Lights. Gene L said make sure that she wanted to mention the Osborne Lights. Said it was magical, especially when the Mannheim Steamroller music was playing. D. Lavender added that he only saw the Osborne Lights one time, and it would happen to be the last year they had it. He had never gone out of his way to see it, figuring, what's the big deal? It's just Christmas lights. But he's blown away and kind of regretted that he only saw it that one time, but at least it was glad he saw it once. Herdomaniac said also on the Osborne single visit category. Again, didn't think it would be so powerful, but just when you're in there and the Snope is coming down and the music's playing, it kind of got emotional. And then Eulilin added that, and I need to ask her what the other thing is, but she said the Osborne Lights is one of two things that they will never forgive Disney for cutting. So I need to ask her what the other one was.
I think we have a DVC engagement for this week, but I think we should change it and be like, can you guess what the other one was? I think that's what we're gonna do. I think. And
the other thing that came out of this that I thought could be a future question is I never got to see the Osborne Lights. We just weren't at Disney during the holidays when it was there, and that's sort of one of my quote unquote like Disney regrets. So I didn't know if other people might have different Disney regrets that like they didn't take advantage of something and now it's gone or something like that.
That would be a sad DVC engagement. Maybe we can save. That's a good idea. I think we should save that. I think this. What do you think? Should we this week's DVC engagement try to guess what Yuli's other?
Yeah, why don't we do that? We could always the other idea you have isn't time sensitive, so why don't we do that?
Yeah, I like that. I like that quite a bit. And I have no idea. Like I usually I have like my answer ready for this. I have absolutely.
I think I actually might know what it is, so I won't say it.
Don't spoil it.
I'll let other people guess.
Exactly. So the only thing I'm surprised is Happily Ever After was not listed here.
Although,
and
to be fair,
Matt, our friend Matt,
didn't chime in, so maybe he just figured everyone would assume that was his answer. But.
Yeah, he needs to get involved in that channel when we're calling for Happily Ever After to be called. I mean, I was going to put that there, but I'm like, that's just too obvious. Like the most popular nighttime show ever at Disney World. I'm like, I can't put that there. I gotta do the non-obvious answer. And then as I saw these answers come, I was like, nobody's asking for happily ever after. I thought that was very strange.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe we should say, okay,
Yeah.
Excluding nighttime parades. What would be
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hint, Disney. People want a nighttime parade,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be that elaborate. I think people just want some floats going by with some cool lights and music.
Yeah. And the last thing I put in there that I didn't know if you wanted to chat about, but TL Matt and the way he worded it was saying, it's hard to think about the show because a lot of it's about the moments that he's had, with his family and stuff like that. And he said never really differentiates the show. He just thinks like, oh, I remember that memory when we watched the show in Magic Kingdom, and not thinking like, was it Wishes? Was it Happily Ever After? What was it? And I was wondering do you think like the hardcore Disney fans focus on these specific shows too much? And for the vast majority of the population, they're just like, well, it's the fireworks show at Magic Kingdom, whatever. I don't know the name of it. Or do you think the specific shows really matter to the majority of guests?
That is an excellent question. We could be here for another 20 minutes talking about it because this is now like a psychology kind of question, right? So the average, or maybe the average guest is a one and done guest, right? I think we can
one and done, or one every 5 years or something.
Right.
Like that, yeah.
So I think it doesn't matter what it is for somebody that's infrequent, whether it's one and done or once every 5 type of thing, right? I think what makes the nighttime shows special is the memories and nostalgia of that time. Because most of the time, a nighttime show, somebody mentioned this, it's your wind down time. You're not rushing from attraction to attraction. You're just kind of sitting, relaxing, waiting for the show. Hopefully it's not too packed in there where you're kind of, like cattle in a pen almost. And you can kind of think about your day. You're with your kids, and an awesome show with some awesome music comes by, and you just think about, previous trips. And that's what Happily Ever After is for a lot of people. Now, conversely, if you have a bad experience with a show or a show that's not that engaging, like for example, Enchantment for me, like it did matter because, again, time and place, it replaced Happily Ever After, which had my memories attached to it. So I was one of those people complaining about it because it was new, right? And I'm always I love new stuff kind of guy. I gave it a chance. It didn't catch me. Then when I went with my kids back in December for the first time, they were seeing that show. The parks were so crowded, and it was extremely claustrophobic in that park when we went to go see it, that my wife was just like, we need to get out of here. I don't like the crowds. And we tried finding a spot. We couldn't find a spot. My wife was willing to kind of like hold in her anxiety from being like packed in.
Yeah.
And we couldn't it wasn't a pleasant experience whatsoever. So Enchantment came and went. So I think the show does matter, right? It has to be able to hook you a little bit, at least so you can build those memories. And I think the more often you go, those nighttime shows hold a more emotional part in your brain. So you might think these don't matter, but I think there's those key elements that kind of hook your memories to kind of giving you those, like the feels, right? That type of thing. What do you think?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think for the one and done, they might not think like planning the day, like, oh, I'm seeing Happily Ever After. They're like, oh, well, we got to watch the fireworks. But I think for the people that come even remotely regularly, you do get attached to one show or the other. Now, for the other shows that, like you said, maybe the ones you don't get attached to, it might just be the fireworks show at Epcot or whatever like that. But, the ones that mean a lot to you, you're always going to remember.
I think every park needs a show. I think that's like the cherry on top for the day, whether you're the one and done guest or somebody that goes every single weekend.
Yep.
Like that is necessary to complete your day at a Walt Disney World or a Disney park in general. That's just like the capstone of your experience.
Well, Walt said the fireworks were supposed to be his sort of thank you gift to the guests who chose to spend their day at Disney.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I really like that. That's a very good question. We could have done like a lot more on that, kind of dive into there. But keeping it brief because we're at the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for listening. Make sure you do the likes and subscribes. Tell people about Discord. We want more people coming into Discord to join the conversation. It was really good this week. I really appreciate everybody kind of chiming in with the DBC engagement. And I was absent because of work for most of the week. I did not have my cell phone with me. But the conversation carried on. So remember this week's DBC engagement. What is the second thing that Yulin will not forgive Disney for cutting. We're going to try to sleuth that one out. That will start tomorrow. Today's Monday. This is out Tuesday, so if I say tomorrow, that's actually going to be correct.
We'll start Wednesday to avoid
yes.
confusion.
Yes, thank you. Wednesday the 14th, and we'll go from there. But that being said, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next week.